the perfect. Thank you, Frank, for that. Okay, I'm going to then start sharing my screen.
Good to
Um,
have that capability.
yes, I do have the capability now.
There you go.
And here is the presentation. And let me just go all the way to the actual begin. Oh, I have two presentations. This should be the one. Okay, perfect. And I'm going to please let me know if you are seeing the first slide on the presentation.
I see it.
Okay, excellent. So welcome to Colombia, an epic birding adventure. I must say that Colombia really is an epic birding adventure because, as many of you will know, Colombia is the country with more bird species in the world. We are very close now to the 2000 mark, and every year there is a new split or there are new birds that are discovered in the country that were either not seen in our border, in the inside part of our country, or that are just completely new to science. So it's a very exciting place to explore. And I think it's very important for us to. I want to, of course, introduce you to why Colombia is so mega diverse. I think that's kind of like the big question that I want to get to answer first. And it all comes down to two things: topography and location. Colombia, welcome to Colombia, is a country located in the northwestern part of South America. So when you come from Central America, this is Panama, then Colombia is the country to welcome you first in South America. We have limits with Venezuela in the east, northeast, and southeast is Brazil, and in the south west we have Peru and Ecuador. So those are our neighbors. Colombia is the only country in South America that has coasts in both the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean. Just that condition already created a lot of conditions, a lot of habitats for specific birds and wildlife to live in one coast or the other. And the real magic in Colombia happened in this area. This is what we call the Colombia Massif. The Andes Cordillera that comes all the way from Chile and Argentina in the south and going north. When it enters Colombia, as you can see here, it opens up in three distinctive branches. So we have the Western Andes Cordillera, the Central Andes Cordillera, and the Eastern Andes Cordillera. Each two branches are divided by a valley. The bigger and wider of the valleys, this one here, is the Magdalena Valley. As you can see, there is the Magdalena River that travels north all the way from the south and goes all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. And then the Western and Central Andes Cordillera are divided by the Cauca Valley. Cauca Valley is narrower and is a much smaller valley. I believe somebody needs to put the mute on the microphone. Thank you. And this valley, although it's small, because okay, this valley is smaller, but because of its location very close to what we call the Chocó bioregion of Colombia, and we also have Chocó bioregion in Ecuador, is super mega diverse. This very small valley is home to over 900 bird species. So 900 bird species have been recorded on this small valley. Each of the ranges of the Cauca of the Andes Cordillera, of course, through my linea, created their own conditions, their own habitats, their own ecosystems, so that specific birds may live, for example, in this cordillera, but they don't travel across the valley to this other cordillera. So that's one of the main reasons why we have so many bird species in Colombia. And just to let you know, when we were doing like the tour that I just finished, it started in Bogota. We were birding regions here, then in the Eastern Andes Cordillera. We did birding here in lowland on the Magdalena Valley, which is hot and humid, and then we finished birding the coffee area of Colombia. So that's a beautiful 10-day birding tour that we organized. Another main reason why Colombia is so mega diverse and we have so many birds is that mountain range in the Caribbean coast of Colombia. These are the very famous Santa Marta Mountains. The Santa Marta Mountains are a hotbed for endemism in Colombia and in the world. As you can see, these set of mountains are isolated, are not part of the Andes Cordillera. And because of that isolation and the fact that they are located in the Caribbean coast, then create all the different important conditions for a lot of bird species to be restrained to this part of the world, basically. So in two good mornings birding in these mountains, you get to see up to 20 endemic species that can only be found in Colombia. And something also very interesting about the Caribbean coast of Colombia is that the birds that are not endemic pretty much are restricted to this area of South America and probably northwestern part of Venezuela. But of course, sadly these days we don't travel too much to Venezuela. Then you get very good chances to see a lot of birds that are restricted to in that part of Colombia. Other main regions and hotbeds for endemism and just a lot of species in Colombia are the Chocó bioregion that, as I mentioned before, we share with Ecuador and I believe with Peru a little bit. It's only 1.5% of the landmass on Earth, but it sustains 70% of all the species of plants and animals and wildlife in general. So it's in a per area basis is more biodiverse than the Amazon itself. We also have beyond the Andes what we call the savanna. Savanna, as you can see, is a flat area full of wetlands and just grass areas. And in this part of Colombia, what we see is your big birds and a lot of big mammals, including the jaguar, anacondas, capybaras. So it's what we call kind of like the safari experience of Colombia. And also we have the Amazon foothills. You always associate, and I think that's fair to say that we always tend to associate the Amazon to Brazil because of course it's the country that has more of the Amazon. In fact, the Amazon River just touches Colombia in this small area. But all this river, all this water is actually tributaries from the Amazon or some other rivers of the Amazonian region. So all this area gets a lot of influence from the Amazon, and of course have their own conditions for a lot of amazing, colorful, and crazy-looking birds to be seen in that part. Today, our presentation, we are gonna focus on what happened in the Andes Cordillera area of Colombia and the Caribbean coast. So without further ado, we are going to explore our first region. Oh, sorry, not yet. Sorry. Biodiversity by the numbers. So these are the numbers in terms of different species. These numbers are about 3 years old. So in that year, Colombia had 1,921 species of bird that have been recorded in Colombia, but now we are, as I mentioned, closer to the 2,000 number. 10% of them are migratory birds, and 90% are birds that we find year-round in Colombia. In terms of plants, and I know that a lot of us love orchids, Colombia is the country #1 when it comes to species of orchids. We have over 4,200 species of orchids. Among them, let me see, is the, okay, yes, 1,500 these days of those orchids are endemic to Colombia, along with 350 species of butterflies, for example, and around 85, I believe, is now a species of birds that can only be found in my country. When it comes to rankings, Colombia comes first when it's about number of species of birds and orchids, second for reptiles, sweetwater fish, butterflies and plants, number third for palms and reptiles, and number 4 for mammals. And with that, I think that I want to just make a point that when you come to Colombia, it's not only about the birds, but you have like the real, I mean, you have like a real nature and deep nature experience. Is all about all the things that happen around the birds. I like to always start my presentation with this photo here because this is a historic moment in Colombia. Is back in 2016, the Colombian president back then, Juan Manuel Santos, is signing a peace agreement with the main leader of the major guerrilla group of Colombia, the FARC guerrilla group. This happened in Cuba, and ever since they signed this peace agreement, it has been in implementation ever since. Of course, there have been problems, there have been issues still related to safety in Colombia. but at this point, at this moment in history, we decided that enough was enough, that we wanted to really turn the page. We wanted to live in peace, be able to progress, be able to show you all the wonders and all the beauty of Colombia, and that somehow reflect on headlines all over the world. So, for example, Colombia became the most visited destination of 2019, and this was related to sustainability, the meteoric rise of Colombia's tourism, and how Colombia was once consumed by violence became your next destination, and I will add your next birding destination. Okay, let's explore the first area. Okay, so we are going to be visiting some birding locations on our epic Andes birding tour. These are locations on the Cauca Valley of Colombia, western and central Andes Cordillera. We travel first to the Cauca Valley of Colombia. As you can see, this is close to the Pacific Ocean, and we're going to be visiting locations at lower altitude, like in the Chicaya Valley. This is Chocó bioregion at low altitude, your typical lowland tropical forest, and some other locations in the Cauca Valley and foothill to the Andes Cordillera, which are at higher elevations. And we're going to be finishing this part birding Laguna de Sonso, which is one of the most important wetlands that we have in Colombia. After spending a few days in the Cauca Valley, we travel north on the valley, and we spent 3.5 days at the very famous Montezuma Rainforest Eco Lodge, which has recorded over 600 bird species. Montezuma is located also in the Chocó region of Colombia, but is at higher altitude. After spending a few days here, we crossed the valley again, and now we are finishing this part and this tour birding locations at the very famous Coffee Triangle area of Colombia and its very different hotspots. So with this, let's get started with our virtual tour. Okay, so this is more or less an idea of what is that tour that I just presented there. The locations is very well connected. It's a 12-day birding tour, more or less. If it's a private group, it can always go more or less days. It just depends on you, of course. It's our most tropical and colorful tour. When you think about South America and the tropics, this will be kind of like what resembles more closely what you have in mind. Great food and accommodation. This is a moderate intensity kind of, I'm not gonna call it luxury because I don't really associate ecotourism with luxury, but it's very comfortable. You can see up to 400 bird species. Of course, we don't promise in numbers, but that's more or less in average what our groups have achieved in terms of numbers. It includes around 20 plus endemics, around 30 plus Chocó endemics that only can be found in the Chocó bioregion, and an incredible, and believe it or not, without even having a focus on hummingbirds, we see over 40 hummingbird species on this tour. This is great for bird photography, but I like to, like not to mix too much photographers with birders. If you want, and if you are a photographer and you want to do a tour with photographers, then let me know and we will do it just for photographers. So let's start with the most beautiful of all birds in Colombia, according to me. No, and I guess like a majority of birders in Colombia will probably agree that this should be our national bird. Is the multicolored tanager. It's very located. It's very range restricted. Sorry, it's very range restricted to the Cauca Valley, to some locations in the Cauca Valley. But we have at least 2 hotspots that we visit where very good chances to see this bird, and it likes to perch close to people, so it gives very good opportunities for photography. So that's the multicolored tanager, endemic of Colombia. Chestnut wood quail. Chestnut wood quail is another endemic bird of Colombia. Very difficult to see like in the wild because it's shy, is a ground dweller. But there is one place also in the Cauca Valley that we visit, that we know of, that have successfully attracted to one feeder. So we have good chances to see it. And let's hear it from the chestnut wood quail. So that was the very particular song, and I think it's beautiful, of the chestnut wood quail. Before I move on, and just because I want to just make sure that you are all enjoying the presentation, I would like to please just somebody let me know if you actually could hear the song of the chestnut wood quail. If anyone can just unmute and let me know, please.
Yes, it's awesome.
Excellent, perfect. Thank
Yes,
you.
it was. It worked.
Appreciate, thank you. Okay, then moving on. Now we have the grayish picolet. Some of you may know, and I'm sure that majority of you will know. Picolets are in the families of woodpeckers, but it's a small version of the woodpecker. This is one that we found in that Sonso Lagoon that I mentioned. Is pretty much the most important wetland that we have left, like pristine wetland in Colombia. And in one day birding in that wetland is lower elevation, so it's hot and humid. So we tend to go birding there very early in the morning, but in a good morning. And I'm really thinking on 3.5 hours. Sometimes you get to see up to 80, 85 species of birds, just because it's very full of life, that type of ecosystem. And let's hear it from the grayish picolet. So that's how we know that a grayish picolet is in the vicinity. A spectacle parrotlet, almost endemic of Colombia. They, like many other parrotlets, travel in groups. They are with their partner for life. And I think this is one of those birds that are rightfully named a spectacle, because look at that beautiful spectacle just around the eye. This is also a bird that is very common in that same wetland. So that's the spectacle. Now, when we are in the Cauca Valley of Colombia, we move a little bit western, and then we start getting a lot of influence from the Chocó bioregion. But then first, we're gonna get influence at a higher elevation, which is 5,250 feet in average, and this is cloud forest. So this is still cloud forest, and this is the best place in Colombia to get to see and to see well, like in a perch, the toucan barbet. And hear the sound of the toucan barbet. All those colors in a barbet and that beautiful song. Going down that valley, because we start like in that area for the toucan barbet, and then in one day we go down towards the Pacific Ocean on that Chocó bioregion road, and then we start seeing birds as amazing and tropical as the rose-faced parrot is an endemic of the Chocó bioregion. Chocó toucan, that of course very representative of that area of the world. It's just very interesting, and I each time and every time I get more respect for the guides and like the birders that can identify, of course, all these amazing number of sounds and songs of the birds, so that they can point out really to what are the ones that we haven't seen, what are the ones that are like really endemic or very difficult to see, because of course I think that enhances a lot the experience of birding, I mean, at home and abroad. So toucan, that's one. We get very good chances to see broad-billed moths. Broad-billed moths are very well distributed among the tropics, and in this particular road is they give very good opportunities to see them perching, good chances for photography. And in the lower elevation part on the Chocó bioregion, like that road, we have chances to see the tooth-billed hummingbird. And as you can see, it's the only hummingbird with like a very defined, serrated set of tooth, because their main diet is not flower nectar, but insects. And actually, they live very close to waterfalls. So whenever there is moving water, we get chances to actually see the tooth-billed hummingbird, although it remained very motionless. So when we get to the specific location, our guide always spends some time trying to get this particular call. That's how he will know that a tooth-billed hummingbird was in the vicinity. This is more or less the idea of the places where we stay. They are all ecologists. This is actually in cloud forest, so this is above 5,200 or 300 feet elevation. All are, surrounded by feeders. They have these very nice balconies. Food is delicious. We cater to all sort of food allergies and restrictions. So, I mean, it's all designed and ready for you to have just an amazing birding and natural history experience. And this is more or less what you can expect when you visit this part of Colombia. This is what is called the Anchicaya Valley. So let's say that we are starting here at a higher elevation point, and this is just the view all the way across that valley. And beyond those mountains is where we find then the Pacific Ocean. And this is all pristine tropical lowland humid forest. I believe in some measures say that just in this piece of land and this beautiful forest, you can fit an area of Costa Rica. So Costa Rica can actually be fitted in this mountain range in Colombia. Now we move north and then we get to the Montezuma Lodge. Montezuma Lodge is very famous because it's in the Chocó Bay region, but at a higher elevation. As you can see, we start at 5,200, which will be kind of like the higher elevation in the previous part of the Chocó Bay region, and we go all the way up to 8,000 feet. So the birds that you see in this part of Colombia and this part of the Chocó Bay region are just insane. And so this is the Montezuma Lodge. It's in the Chocó Bay region. We spend at least 3 nights and 3.5 days birding just up and down this mountain range, like one specific road, because they have recorded over 600 bird species. And not only that, but of those 600 bird species, I will say that at least a third are very unique to the Chocó Bay region, like this crested ant and tanager, which is endemic of Colombia. As you can see, they are very beautiful. Male and female are kind of similar, very similar. Just the red in the male is a little bit more bright. The crest goes a little bit higher, taller, but they look very much alike. It's although it's a tanager, it's very shy. It remains kind of like hidden in the canopy of the tree. So sometimes we are just lucky to get to take a picture like this one. And black and gold tanager, another specialty of these mountains. This is one of 3 tanagers that belong to the Banksia family, at least that are found in Colombia. So difficult to see. They are very restricted in the area where they live, basically, and it's one of the main specialties of this mountain range. I love a lot the blue patch in the wing. And from the same family, and I will say probably this is the most famous bird to be seen in the Montezuma Lodge and in the Montezuma Rainforest range, is the gold ring tanager. Gold ring tanager also belong to the Banksia family, rightfully named gold ring, as you can see around the eye and the ear. And this bird, although is super important, is endemic, is difficult, I mean, it's range restricted, he's not shy. If he is actually in the vicinity and we get chance to see it, he will pose for the camera kind of like tirelessly. He likes to be in front of people and just be close to humans. Yeah, behavioral of birds is just amazing. Munchique wood wren is an endemic wood wren of Colombia. Of course, difficult to see as any other ground dwelling. But when we are at the very top of this Montezuma range, I mean, I'm not going to say that I promise to see it, but chances are very good to see it. And of course, we will hear it. And let's hear it from him. Wrens at wood wrens, and probably it's just my opinion, although I believe that you will agree with me, have some of the most beautiful songs in the animal kingdom, basically, and of course among birds. So now moving on, we cross then from the western Andes Cordillera to the central Andes Cordillera. We cross the valley, the Cauca Valley, and now we are in the birding, the coffee region of Colombia. This is more or less an idea of the landscape on the coffee region of Colombia. I was there just until this morning as I mentioned before. One of the main characters of new additions to the beautiful number of birds that we can find in the coffee area of Colombia is the crescent face ampita. Crescent face ampita, as any other ampita, not easy to see in the wild at all, but there is one specific location in the coffee area of Colombia where successfully they are attracting these ampitas to the feeders. And let me just tell you, because I had this experience with this group 3 days ago, it's absolutely insane the way that this guy attract the ampitas to the feeders, because normally it's that they will put like a specific worm and they will be patient, and when the ampita is coming they will probably make a sound, something like that. That's kind of how it works, at least here in Colombia. But what this guy does is that he's all the time just talking to the ampita. So this ampita in particular is called lunita, because as you can, lunita is like a small moon, and you can see it's kind of like the crescent moon here around the eye, and it's called lunita. So this guy will start lunita, lunita, ven lunita, ven gordita, like don't be shy, things like that. So it was hilarious, and we thought it was not gonna work, but the actually the bird came and he poses and he will go on this small like a little mountain that they just have there for them to display, and it was just like an amazing moment. And this is the song of the crescent-faced ampita. I'm gonna have to say one that's probably my favorite of all lampitas. It's just so beautiful and so different. Moving in the same region, the coffee region, something that is amazing about the coffee region is that everything is close by. The most that we will ever travel in the coffee region is around 2 hours, and we will move from, let's say, 8,000 feet on elevation all the way to Paramo in the very high elevation. The most that we will ever go in a tour to 14,000 feet on elevation. In the next slide, you will know, you will understand me why we actually go one day to that very high elevation. At the lower elevation, we find, like in pristine moving waters, are very good ecosystems to find the torrent duck. Torrent duck, probably the most beautiful of all ducks that exist. Well, that's probably just my opinion, but they are just beautiful. And believe it or not, the female, more colorful and probably more attractive than the male. They are very good indicators of healthy environments. Whenever you see a torrent duck, you can tell that that environment is clean and it's just healthy. Brown banded ampita, another of the ampitas that come to the feeders. Here is my hand actually feeding that ampita. Slaty crown ampita, another beautiful ground dweller of those locations. For 18 years, they have been protecting the land in one specific it's not an ecology, it's a natural reserve, and they have successfully brought up to 5 species of ampitas to different feeders. So that's what happened there in the coffee region of Colombia. Cauca guan, an endemic guan of Colombia, restricted to some region of the coffee area, but it's not shy. I mean, when you see it, you will see it quite a lot. And scarlet-fronted parakeets, probably my favorite parakeets of the region, very noisy, and they like to travel in groups, of course. Oops, sorry, Kate, I want you to hear. Not working. Let's see, last time. There you go. So those were the scarlet-fronted parakeets. Now, this is the reason why we go to 14,000 feet. Only one day, we give it a try for a couple of hours. We do everything for you to feel fine. I mean, not to have, like this. We have been gaining elevation one day at a time. So it's not that we do it all in once. We gain elevation slowly but surely. And then when we get to this high altitude, we get to see birds as amazing as the Buffy helmet crest to my left. Believe it or not, is a hummingbird of very high elevation in Colombia. It feeds exclusively from the Speletia flower of the Speletia plant, And this is a plant that only can exist in Paramo ecosystem. I will show you a picture of Paramo ecosystem later because probably you have, unless you have traveled to Colombia or Venezuela or I believe it's Ecuador, you don't know Paramo because it only exists on those three countries, and Colombia has 70% of all Paramos in the world. And then we get good chances also, although this time around I have to confess I didn't see it, to see the Andean condor just soaring above our heads. So, and of course, there are several other special birds to be seen at that high altitude. So this is how the Paramo landscape looks like. It's completely alien. It's something that you will not, I mean, it's probably my favorite of all ecosystems just because it's so different. It starts around 12,500 feet. It goes all the way to before the snow cap. And so yeah, this is how it looks like. These are the Speletia plants and the Speletia flower, and that's what the Buffy helmet crest fits exclusively from. So that's what we do at 14,000 feet. And this is more or less an idea of the places where we stay in the coffee area of Colombia. This is probably my favorite of all ecologies in Colombia. The Tinamu Birding Ecolodge is all completely designed and thought for birders, is owned by birders. You have feeders all over the place. As you can see, the murals and everything is bird theme. The food is delicious. You can spend here like if you are a photographer, this would be a place to spend 3 days just taking beautiful photos. It has, of course, different trails that we used to go and see. A small thing is Black Tinamu, the one that we saw here. We saw Scale and Pita, and actually we saw the group really wanted to see a Putu, and this is a place where actually the ranger has some specific locations for us to see a Putu, and we managed yesterday to see a Putu in this place. Finally, we are. Sorry.
Second experience, we are going to be birding locations around the Magdalena Valley of Colombia. This is the valley that divides the central from the eastern Andes Cordillera. We start these birding locations around the capital city of Bogota. For the most part, these are higher altitude locations in high Andean forest, and we go all the way up to Paramo here in Chingasa. After that, we start descending into the valley, birding locations that are at lower altitude in foothill of the Andes Cordillera, such as Laguna El Tabacal and the Enchanted Garden. So after the first few days birding those locations, we then focus on birding locations along the valley, the Magdalena Valley, such as the Laguna Guarinosito, which is a wetland. We visit one of the American Bird Conservancy co-founded birding reserves, the Blue-billed Curacao, and also a private reserve called Cañón de Rio Claro. So those are the ones that we do pretty much in the Magdalena Valley, which is lower elevation, humid tropical forest for the most part. And we finish birding locations around the beautiful city of Medellin. We go all the way up to another of ABC locations, the Chestnut Cat Pija Reserve. And then we finish birding locations close the city of Jardín in Antioquia. And with that, we finish this part of the.
Okay, so sorry that it was not actually the last experience. This is the second experience. This is a longer tour. It's 15-day in average. Of course, you can do it more or less. And I think the main attractive of this tour is that it includes visit to at least 3 or 4 natural reserves that are co-founded and sponsored by the American Bird Conservancy. So if you care about the American Bird Conservancy mission, I would recommend that we visit these places. It's a more remote and a little bit off the beaten path than the previous one, the Epic Andes Birding Tour, because then you go to more rustic and remote locations along the Magdalena Valley. But it's important because those are the locations that need to be preserved for those birds that are so much endangered and important for diversity. In this one, we get up to 400 plus bird species, and we include around 10 endemics or more. But what is more important is that there is a lot of range restricted birds also in this part of Colombia. So one bird to see just around Bogota, not easy to see, but we gain elevation going to the east, and we have chances to see the amazing and beautiful black-billed mountain toucan. And let's hear it from the black-billed mountain toucan. See how it gained intensity in a second. That was the amazing call of the black-billed mountain toucan. So always when you start hearing something like that, you better pay attention because it's likely that we will see the amazing, beautiful bird. Now, probably some of you already know about him. The most incredible, I don't know if it's the most beautiful, but it's the most incredible of birds in the world, probably. The sword-billed hummingbird, very long, long, long bill. In some of them, in some of the males, the bill can be as long as twice the size of the body, the length of the body. It of course needed it because then the sword-billed hummingbird feeds from elongated flowers, so they are adapted to those flowers, so they don't have competition. And something just curious to mention is that when the sword-billed hummingbird perches, it needs to tilt its head backwards because otherwise it will fall from the weight of the bill. So it's just an amazing adaptation and just a crazy looking on this sword-billed hummingbird. When we descend to lower land in the Magdalena Valley, and then again everything just changes in terms of ecosystems and habitats. This is again lowland, tropical forest. It gets like really hot, and then we get a lot of endemics on that part of Colombia, like the white-mantled barbet is an endemic. It's restricted to that area. Remember that we are in a valley that is surrounded by huge mountain ranges, so this bird don't go anywhere else but stays in that valley. Another two endemic bird species is the very important and highly threatened blue-billed curassow. This is on behalf of this bird is the American Bird Council Embassy, and of course many other NGOs have put a lot of money, have created this huge reserve to try to keep the habitat for the bird, just to increase the numbers and thrive. The blue-billed curassow is just beautiful. And to the right, we have another endemic bird of Colombia, the sooty ant tanager, with its red or orange crest and neck. It's not easy to see. He likes to be kind of like hidden in the canopy of trees, but with some luck and patience, we manage sometimes good views and photos. Another two endemic birds of this Magdalena Valley of Colombia, we have the beautiful woodpecker, and I don't think that I have to say much more about this bird. It's just beautiful. Same habitats, same places as the previous two endemics of Colombia. And then we have one of those successful stories on the birding world is the yellow-eared parrot. The numbers of the yellow-eared parrots were very low 20, 30 years ago, probably in the low hundreds or even less. And then because the problem is that the yellow-eared parrot depends exclusively from the wax palm in order to survive, because they create their nests they make their nest on the cavities of mature dead trees. So imagine you need to have mature forest of palms in order to have mature dead trees for them to actually build those nests. And for 50 years, the wax palm was almost exterminated in Colombia because, I mean, deforested in order to get the oil, but also for some other reasons, like just clear the land for some other crops. So the yellow-eared parrot almost disappeared almost went to extinction, but then since they knew the importance of the wax palm, American Bird Conservancy and other NGOs then again purchased vast amounts of land with some patches of mature palms. And ever since they have been preserving those lands, also like the boxes that can be used as an alternative house for the yellow-eared parrot, and in some locations they have worked well. So now the population of the parrot, although it's still in danger, is not anymore in the brink of extinction. So I think that the numbers of this parrot is now in the low thousands, which is still problematic, but at least it's a successful story. Finally, on this tour, when we are close to the city of Medellin, we go to a place that is called Jardín Antioquia. It's only 3 hours away from where I live now. I live close to Medellin now. And then we found, believe it or not, in downtown of Jardín Antioquia, there is a lake for the Andean cock of the rock. The lake has been is a private property, but this lake has been active for 18 years. At any given point in time, you get to see at least a couple of the males displaying for the males displaying for the females, and sometimes you get to see up to 20 males displaying at the same time. They're just amazingly beautiful and crazy looking birds. And the red belly grackle is another endemic bird of Colombia that we found in that specific area. Chestnut cap pija is also, although it's kind of like dull and not strikingly beautiful probably, but it's also a very important bird that was in the brink of extinction, and now there is preserved land for this bird alone. I mean, of course, like the habitats of many other birds, but this been the main subject of conservation initiatives in that part of Colombia. Also an ABC co-funded reserve that we visit in the northern part of the department. Now let me just very briefly talk about a miracle rediscovery that happened in a town just 2 hours north from Medellin. So this town is called San Pedro de los Milagros, or San Peter of Miracles. This guy is his name is Pedro. So he lives in this town. He's studying biology back in the day. This was probably 3 years ago, and then he's going to mass like every other, like most people do in Colombia, because we are a very Catholic country. So he's walking to mass and he's carrying his binoculars, as he does all the time, because he likes birding. He's not an expert, but he likes birding. And then he sees a bird that looks very similar to this lady brush finch. This lady brush finch is a common brush finch in Colombia. So he takes some pictures and he starts posting those pictures online. And the bird got the eye of birders, ornithologists, biologists in University in Medellin. They contacted Rodolfo, sorry, is his name, Rodolfo Peña Nieto. So they contact him and he tried to kind of like explain the bird behavior, where he found it. So they say, we want to go and see this bird because we think that this is an interesting bird. So they go and then they see the bird, they take pictures of the bird, and then after some comparison on the bird that they thought was the slaty brush finch with some skins from museums, what they found out is that the Antioquia brush finch had been rediscovered in the wild. Antioquia brush finch have been completely unknown for 40 years. Was the last time that a bird was actually seen in the wild, and the way they actually knew that is that a few years back an American ornithologist was looking at different skins of brush finches, and those that look like a slaty brush finch, he noticed that two of them didn't look really alike. So they did DNA analysis, and they just, through the analysis of skins, discovered that were completely different species. And there were only two of them. One of them was dated 40 years back. So the last time that somebody saw it and that they actually got that bird was 40 years in the past. And since then, completely disappeared from the face of Earth. And the reason why is that they were looking at the wrong habitats. This Antioquia brush finch, which is still very much endangered, was pretty much hidden in plain sight, because what he does is that he lives in patches of forest in areas that are very heavily deforested. So this area of Colombia in particular is kind of like the main region for milk, for cows, for milk, and also potatoes. So in the patches of forest that remain is the main habitat, believe it or not, of this Antioquia brush finch. And of course now there is a lot of programs and projects in order to bring back the Antioquia brush finch and save those remaining habitats that are so important for this specific bird. Now let's travel to the Caribbean coast.
First birding hotspot or group of hotspots, we will be visiting the very famous Santa Marta Mountains in the Caribbean coast. As you can see, this is a 7-day tour that includes several hotspots along the Caribbean coast of Colombia. So of course, lowland, sandy beaches, beautiful landscapes along the Caribbean coast. And also, we are going to be 3 days birding locations at higher elevation in the almighty Santa Marta mountains of Colombia, including birding very famous El Dorado Ecology that is also part of the American Bird Conservancy network of natural reserves that they protect. We are also going to be finishing a birding location here at the top north, the tip of Colombia in Los Flamencos Natural Sanctuary, where we will find a number of range-restricted birds that can only be seen in this part of Colombia and northwestern Venezuela. So without further ado, let's go and travel to that beautiful part of Colombia.
Okay, so this is the Caribbean coast of Colombia. As mentioned before, it's a 7-day tour. It can be taken as an standalone tour or as an extension to any of the other 2 tours that I presented before. If you take it as an extension, in average, let's say it's anything from 19 to 25 days birding, and you save $500. So instead of taking one and then in a year taking the other one, take the 2 and you save immediately $500 from the price. It includes birding, of course, the almighty Santa Marta mountains of Colombia, where up to 25 endemic species are possible to be seen, and you stay at El Dorado Eco Lodge, which is the flagship of birding lodges in Colombia. Northern Screamer is one of those, he's big, he's noisy, but it's difficult to see because he's shy. So sometimes he will stick his head just on top of the vegetation and we get chances to see it and take some photos. So let's hear it from the Northern Screamer. That was the Northern Screamer, and there we were at sea level, so we were pretty much at sea level. When we start getting a little bit of elevation going towards the Santa Marta mountains of Colombia, we start seeing some of the emblematic and endemic birds of those isolated mountain ranges. So, for example, the white lord warbler that we have to the left, as you can see, the white lord is kind of like a broken eye-ring. So this is rightfully named the white lord warbler. And my favorite antbird of them all is the Santa Marta antbird, also endemic of that part of Colombia. I like a lot the like the striking black and white on the chest, and also the underbelly that is orangey. I think that's a very beautiful combination. Not an easy bird to see, but whenever we are traveling and the guide gets to pick up this song, then he will know that we have to stop, get off the van, and then try to get a view of this beautiful bird. And that was the amazing Santa Marta ant bird. Another endemic, this time hummingbird of that part of Colombia, is the Santa Marta wood star. Santa Marta wood star will not come to the feeders, but he likes to feed from the marmalade flower, and the marmalade flower is very much present year long just outside the lodge, El Dorado Eco Lodge, on those mountains. So with a little bit of patience, good weather, we get to have very good views of these amazing Santa Marta wood stars. Wood stars are very, very small hummingbirds. We get to the left, the Santa Marta parakeet. In order to see a Santa Marta parakeet, we have to wake up from the El Dorado Lodge very early in the morning, go all the way up ridge. It's called the San Lorenzo Ridge, and when we reach the higher elevation point, which is around 11,500 feet, early in the morning is when these Santa Marta parakeets congregates on the birds around the ridge, and just for a few minutes they get to wake us up with their amazing and beautiful song. So amazing, beautiful, and very noisy. Santa Marta and Pita, very shy and Pita, also endemic. As you can see, there is here a theme, and is that a lot of these endemic birds start with the same name, Santa Marta. I think there are at least 5 or 6 of them that start with the name, if not more. But then there is also one location going down from the mountain where somebody has started a feeding station. So we get good chances to see the Santa Marta and Pita. These are not endemics of Colombia, but they are near endemic, only shared with Venezuela, but I believe they are just beautiful. The one to the left we find around the lodge, El Dorado Ico Lodge, is the white tip quetzal, beautiful quetzal with white tip actually on their feathers on the tail, as you can see here. This is not, of course, that I will promise, but it's an easy target because he likes to be and he lives around the lodge. And believe it or not, we have a cousin of your northern cardinal in the United States. Some of you will know I live in the States for 10 years, just came back to Colombia. So I always, where I went, I got always visitors that were the northern cardinals. So now we have here in Colombia, in northern tip part of Colombia, very desertic area of Colombia, the Vermilion cardinal is an offshoot cousin of what is in reality North American family. But then yeah, we have our own version of the cardinal. It's strikingly beautiful because the red is super intense. This is an area without many leaves because it's very dry. So when you get to see one, wow, my goodness, it's just amazing because the contrast with the background is great. And the crest is it's insane how high it goes, that crest. And this is the song for the white tip quetzal. So imagine to be kind of like in the most beautiful of all lodges that you can imagine, in cloud forest in the mountains, with a view to the ocean, and being waking up with that amazing and beautiful cold. This is more or less the place where we stay and the looks that we have in the lower elevations. When we are close to the beach, we like to be on eco lodges that are pretty much there in the beach with like the sand. You get to enjoy, of course, the shorebirds and have like beautiful locally produced food or fish or vegetarian, anything that you may want. We want the whole experience to be just great for all of you. And this is an aerial view of the El Dorado Eco Lodge. As you can see, we are at the cloud forest. This is the area of the restaurants. The houses are just around this main building, and it's amazingly beautiful, and it's just super peaceful to spend there 2 or 3 nights just birding the trails around and going, of course, up and down the mountain to see all the endemics that are possible in this set of mountains. And with that, and I believe we did very good on time, I finished my presentation. Thank you very much for joining me, and hope to see you very soon in Colombia. I believe now I can take some questions if you have any. Thank you so much for that.
There's a question in the chat box that says, are most ant pizzas ground dwellers?
Yes, most ampitas are ground dwellers. They will not really fly. Some of them tend to probably go up some of the trees. So those will be a little bit easier to see, but for the most part, they are ground dwellers. And unless you have places with feeders, then you just have to be very patient and with a guide that is very skillful in order to see them actually coming close enough for you to see them, yes.
A question from Bonnie, how much preserved land is there in Colombia?
That's a very good question. I will say that formally, I will say like 30% of the land in Colombia is preserved, but at the same time, it's such a vast area of Colombia that needs to be preserved, and we have such little resources that at the end of the day, I don't think it's ever enough. Actually, one thing that happened when they signed the peace agreement with the main guerrilla group of FARC, and it was kind of like a consequence of that we didn't imagine was going to happen, is that in the past, believe it or not, those guerrilla groups preserved the land somehow because they needed the canopy in order to move without being seen, by the legal forces. Also to move kind of like the traffic of, like the drug traffic and all that stuff. But since they moved from those areas, then the rightful owners of the land, they just started cutting the trees because now, although those areas can be preserved, now what they face is just like time in jail, which never really happened, or that they may be fine, but the pressure that put the guerrilla was much more forceful. So sadly, it's going to take time before preservation of the land can actually be legally um, legally in force, or yeah.
Well, it's 1 hour and 1 minute. So Giovanni did a very good job with timing. Thank
Yeah.
you very much for your, not only your words, but also the pictures and the sounds. Just wonderful. Thank you very much. And thank you all for participating, for being here today. We really appreciate it. And I guess it's 3 o'clock. You can go, if you're in Tucson, you can go back to the festival or see you there tomorrow. So thank you very much and have a good one.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice to see you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
See you in Colombia. Please come to Colombia.